Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Unspoken Matters. I'm your host, Craig Irving. And I guess I probably should start off by saying this is a very special episode of Unspoken Matters. So, Craig, why is it a special episode? Because I am turning over my host seat, not just turning over my host seat, but I'm turning it over to a very special friend of mine, Renee Pargo. And I'm going to let Renee tell you why I'm turning my host seat over. Renee, welcome.
Craig, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be here. So the reason I'm in the host seat today is that you and I are going to talk about a journey that you recently went through. It's a colon cancer journey. So we're going to talk frankly and candidly today about that, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, hey, say no more. Let's get this conversation started.
So this story is about a body that knew its own rhythm until one day it didn't. Today, this story we're telling is a colon cancer story, but not in statistics, not in timelines. This is a story that we're telling in moments. Today's conversation is a tender one. We're talking about colon cancer, but not just the diagnosis, not just the treatment, but the human experience. What happens when your body betrays you? When time feels fragile and survival asks more of you than you knew you had. Some stories arrive softly. Others break the room open. Cancer does not knock politely, it interrupts. Today, we're holding space for a body that has known fear, for a heart that has learned how to cope again, for a life that has had to be rewritten in the margins. This is not just a conversation about colon cancer. This is about what it takes and what it costs to survive. Craig has walked through colon cancer treatment. He's come out, and he's come out changed. Breathe with us. To our listeners, this might be a conversation that is emotional in places. So please take care of yourselves as you listen. Let's begin. There is no rush here. You ready?
I'm ready. First, let me say, wow, wow, wow. That was so beautiful. You know, it's still a surreal feeling when I hear my name attached to cancer, especially given the fact that I spent so much time helping my sister through her battle with cancer. Never did I one time consider that sometime soon it'll be my own battle. So that was so beautiful.
Well, thanks, Craig. But before we talk about the past, let's sit right here in the present. How are you feeling right now?
Well, I tell you, like I tell everybody, I am feeling better than I've ever felt before. I kind of feel like the bionic man now. So I don't know what was in that radiation and what was in that chemo, but it has me feeling really charged. But I'm feeling good. You know, I just had my 1 year scans, which once treatment is over, you get 3 months and 6 months and a year scan. And the big scan is your first year after treatment. So on September 9/11, as a matter of fact, I had my 1 year scans. They came back clear. So I'm in remission. I'm always tempted to say cancer free. When I got my oncology team, great oncology team, I had 1,000,001 questions. But as of lately, the question has been, hey, what is the difference between remission and cancer free? Because I want to be able to say I'm cancer free. Well, the difference is that once treatment ends, they monitor you for a set period of time, either 1 year or 2 years. If your scans come back, no evidence of disease, you are considered after a certain time period as being cancer free. But if it's within that monitoring time period, it's in remission. So I'm still in that monitoring time period. I have a 2 year period that they're going to monitor me. So I had my 1 year, scans are clear. I get another year, I'll be able to say cancer free. So I'm in remission. So I'm feeling great, like Tony the Tiger.
That is wonderful news. I'm so happy to hear that. So let's touch on this. At what point did you know that something wasn't quite right with your body?
Well, that started for me, Renee, and I'll take you back a little further than when I first got the diagnosis or started seeing symptoms of colon cancer. It goes back to about 21 and 24 years ago. I heard that a family member of mine had colon cancer, immediate family member had colon cancer. So the alignment was perfect with my 1 year checkup with my doctor. So when I was getting my annual checkup, I told my doctor, hey, I have this family member, immediate family member, who's been diagnosed with colon cancer. Is there anything that I should be worried about? And he said, absolutely. We need to start you at the age of 35 getting a colonoscopy every 5 years. What we're looking for are polyps and precancerous polyps. So I started getting colonoscopies at the age of 35. And so fast forward to 2022, which was my last colonoscopy. Had the colonoscopy, they removed 2 polyps, everything was fine. Fast forward after 2022 into 2023, I saw blood, probably a little less than a year after I had the colonoscopy. Called my GI doctor. He was out of the country, talked to his nurse physician, told I'd seen blood. She stated there's probably nothing to worry about, but let's just do some blood work. And it's probably constipation. Gave me medicine for constipation. I knew every fiber of my being told me, this is not right. I'm not constipated. I wouldn't know that. But anyway, so I took the medication, went on, and she left with, hey, if you see something else, make sure you let us know. Well, 9 months down the line, I did see more blood, lots of blood. Called my doctor. They got me and did a colonoscopy. It revealed that I had a mass on my colon. Doctor told me that they could remove the mass, which brings me to 2023. So that's how the whole conversation around colon cancer started, with this mass that the doctor will remove.
So they remove the mass and have it biopsied.
See?
You come back to the office. There is a voice. The voice says that dreaded word. How did you react? How did you process that? Was there a moment or a period of silence? Were you in shock, stunned? How did that feel?
Well, I'll take you back to when I removed the mass. The doctor said, we're going to send it off to be biopsied. So I really didn't think that it was cancer, because I had just had a colonoscopy, and I thought that, yeah, man, if I had cancer, they would have seen it then. So there wasn't a big worry. Had the surgery, sent the mass out to be biopsied, had an appointment set up for probably about 4 weeks after the surgery, initial appointment, then about 4 weeks later. So here's a Friday. I was getting ready to go out of town. I have pretty much healed from the surgery. Wasn't a major complicated surgery. So I pretty much healed from the surgery. Got a call from the nurse in my doctor's office saying the doctor wants to see you on Monday. And this is a Friday. That panicked me, because my follow-up appointment had been scheduled in another 3 weeks. So I'm like, why are they moving my appointment up? Immediately, I get on the phone and call my niece, who's in the medical profession, and say, hey, I'm concerned that they moved my appointment up, want to see me on Monday. And I think it's pertaining to the mass that they said to have biopsied. I went on my chart to see had any reports come back, and sure enough, there was a report that had been sent back. I took every word in that report and put it in Google. I became, which my niece hates this about me, I became Craig GMD, Google Medical Doctor. I Googled every word, and some of those words were attached to cancer. And so I started getting a feeling like, could this be cancer? And I called my niece and asked her, and she didn't answer me. She said, just wait and talk to your doctor. And her not answering me left me feeling as if this possibly was cancer. Going to the doctor's office on Monday, he walks in and say, hey, Mr. Irving, good morning. How are you? And I said, I'll be fine if you don't tell me that I have colon cancer. And he looked me straight in the eyes and said, unfortunately, you do have colon cancer. And so that was the beginning of my colon cancer journey.
Wow. So fast forward to your treatment now. What did that look like day to day? And what is it that you had to endure? What kind of treatment did you have?
Well, my doctor immediately set me up with an amazing oncology team, and they immediately shared with me where I was and what was going to happen. They were going to see if the cancer had spread. The treatment more than likely would entail 6 weeks of aggressive radiation and chemo. But the best thing we need is right away the doctor assured me that, hey, colon cancer is a highly treatable cancer if it's caught in its early stage. And it appears from the initial tests that my cancer was detected in its early stages. So the treatment entailed chemotherapy, radiation. I was familiar with chemotherapy. So there wasn't a fear because I'd gone through this with my sister. I knew what to expect. Radiation, I did not know what to expect, but I just knew both were going to be aggressive. And what did that mean? What would aggressive treatment look like for me? That was the unknown. It was very tough. It was very tough. The thing I loved about my doctor is that I told them from the very beginning, I want you guys to always be honest with me. I don't care how painful it is to hear. Whatever you have to tell me, please be honest. So the first question I asked was, is the radiation going to be really bad? Is it going to burn? And the doctor looked me straight in the eyes and he said, absolutely. It is going to be aggressive. It's going to be tough. It's going to burn you. But the good thing is that we're going to be here monitoring you every day, monitoring your blood level, all this information that's surrounding it, because chemo and radiation will suppress your system. It's trying to kill the bad cells, the cancer cells. So I knew the journey was going to be rough, and it was rough. But the good news in this for me was that colon cancer has a high cure rate. And I was relying on the fact what they shared with me was accurate information, was that we caught it at an early stage.
So do you want to speak a little bit more about the proton therapy? Did I get that right?
Yes. Proton radiation therapy. Once I did my PET scan and they looked at the cancer, they felt that I would be a good candidate for something called proton radiation. And what that is, in a nutshell, I had never heard of it. What that does is it keeps the radiation from damaging a lot of the good cells that were around the area that they were trying to zap with the radiation. So it was less harsh on the body. That was something new for me. I learned a lot. But as I said, radiation within itself is tough. When I'm talking to people about my journey, I always try to be extremely honest about everything. It was tough. It was 6 difficult weeks. The first 2 weeks, I felt like, oh, I got this. By week 3, I was feeling like, I'm not sure I have this. And by week 4, I was like, I want to end the treatment. But my doctors had a conversation with me. They talked about how they could manage the pain. And they encouraged me to continue with the treatment, because to stop administering treatment could mean that the cancer could spread to other organs. And when I came back, if I stopped it, the treatment will probably be even more aggressive. So after thinking about it and talking with my niece, I decided to push through, because when you're going through this, you really don't recognize how strong you are and what you can endure. Just hearing it and just seeing it on the surface, there are moments you think, I can't do this another day. But we are a lot stronger than we think we are.
It's amazing. That's amazing. What was harder? This is a twofold question. What was harder than you expected? And then on the flip side, what did you think would be really hard, but it turned out to be easier than you feared?
What was harder than I thought probably was the treatment. Chemo, I was familiar with. You always talk to people, you hear about chemo. And again, I had gone through my sister's treatment with chemotherapy. What was more difficult than I thought was the radiation. As I told you, the radiation was very aggressive. Having to endure that, every day I had to find a moment where I identified one thing to be grateful for. And that was what I used to get through each day. And also, what was more difficult is just talking to my family, sharing with my son, talking to him about the pros and cons of this battle. The pros are that I think I can get through it. All the things that the doctors share with me, it's a highly curable cancer. And the con is that if I don't get through it, you will have to be able to figure out how to move on with life. But it's okay, because we were never meant to be here forever. So those were the high and low moments. But the beauty of this, Renee, for me in this whole journey is that it's amazing when you're facing your own mortality, you realize just how precious life is. And I've always been a person who's been intentional and been optimistic. But when you're facing your own mortality, you realize how much you want to live. And there's beauty in everything that we do. So things that we normally complain about, you find ways to find beauty in that. Just the ability to look at life and find something purposeful in living my life every single day. To me, that was a big upside for this journey.
So we know that illness reveals people, right? It reveals their intent. Some people will step closer. Some people will drift further apart. So we know that support shows up in different ways. It can be, holding your hand. It can be just sitting next to you in perfect silence. What did you learn about support? How did it show up for you? Were there people who showed up for you that you didn't expect in ways that you didn't expect? And were there some people who disappointed you with not showing up?
Yeah, very good question. I don't know if I was disappointed about anything because I don't usually put expectations on people. I only place expectations on myself. But my niece Melissa was amazing. She stayed with me from day one of the diagnosis until long after the treatment. I'm sure I drove her crazy because I am not a good patient. I used to call her Nurse Ratchet because I'm sure she wanted to take me out at any given time because I wasn't the ideal patient. Back to my niece, just amazing. She was one of the reasons I think I ended up pulling through this battle. But let's talk about strangers. The kindness of strangers. When I say strangers, I mean people who are not connected to me by blood. Blew me away. I had people who were connected to me through my job. Very few people knew, but the ones who knew or heard about it reached out and said, "Hey, Craig, I can take vacation time off and come down and sit with you. I can take you to your doctor's appointment. Do you need food? Do you need finances?" I was completely blown away because when you're up and you're doing well, your friends and associates always say, "If you need anything, let me know." Or they extend themselves or they say, "Hey, I have so much respect for you." But I know sometimes that can be small talk. But when I tell you the kindness of strangers who reached out to me, and when I say strangers again, not people that I don't know, but just people who I've had brief interaction with, or who at some point on my job I've come into contact with, all the way from Texas to Virginia areas, they would just send notes or say, "I don't want to call you, but if you need me to take you to the doctor, if you need anything." So the kindness of strangers completely blew me away.
Wow. So I've heard it said that nighttime tells the truth, and it is where courage is negotiated. What were your night times like in those quiet moments when there was nobody around and it was just you and your thoughts?
Oh, wow. First, let me start off by saying I never once questioned, you know, how some people, you go through hard times in life, and a lot of people say, "Oh, God, I ask God, why me?" I never ask why me. More or less, I've always been a person that says, "Why not me? If not me, then who?" So I never questioned why me. But there were moments of reflection on my life, especially at nighttime, because the nights were really long, because you would feel the effects of the treatment. I started wondering if this is it for me. Have I done all that I was supposed to do? The reason why I'm put here on earth, had I feel fulfilled that purpose, because I've always tried to live my life with intention and do purposeful work. And when you ask me what was my ask in silence, there were moments where I wanted to live, but I also wanted to live to make sure that I live a life that was more intentional, even more so than before, and more on purpose. And that purpose has always been for me, how do I give back? Because I know long after Craig is gone, what lives on is the work that I've done. So my nighttime, my quiet moments were reflections of my life. Number one, if it ended, what have I done with my life? And if I was blessed to have it extended, to be cured from this cancer, what was I going to do differently with my life?
So were there things or stumbling over my words, sorry about that. Are there things that no longer stress you out that would have prior to the cancer diagnosis? And are there things now that are just more precious to you? I know that you mentioned time and kind of legacy, but what's precious to you now?
Probably what's precious to me now more than ever, as I said, time, but my health. I would be being dishonest if I didn't tell you there are still moments and there are still times that if I feel a certain way, I wonder if the cancer is back. Because I think you will hear this from any cancer patient. You always want to remain cancer free. And there's a time period. I don't know what that time period is. I probably can tell you if I'm still around a year from now, or 2 years, or 5 years from now. There are moments almost weekly for me, still now to this day, that I wonder if something feels off. Is that the cancer that is returning? So I'm ready to get to the moment where I don't worry about being in remission or being cancer free, where I can just get through every day. But what's precious to me is my health. And again, I can't stress it enough, is living a purposeful life. And for me, that purpose is being able to give back in a meaningful way, in a way that whatever I give back, it lives on long after I'm gone.
Do you ever feel disconnected from yourself, your body? You feel like your body has let you down? Is there grief, some kind of grieving process around, the changes that you've gone through in your body? Like, is it complicated? It seems to me that it would be a complicated set of thoughts and emotions around those things, just the changes.
Yeah, you're talking about cancer. I'm always careful to, when I talk about my journey or talk about my sister's journey, to always try to inspire, because a lot of people don't like to talk about cancer because they say, oh, it's so doom and gloom, it's so depressing. So I always try to talk about my journey in a way that inspires people, because at the end of the day, I am still here and I never take that for granted. Regardless if it's a holiday, I realize that I could have not been here. Cancer could have taken me out the way it's done millions and millions of people, but I am still here. I see a different Craig because evidence of the cancer stays with you. Be it the scarring from the radiation or the different things and functions that you lose as a result of what chemo is and because of what radiation is. There's a trade-off. And there's a trade-off for the ability to continue living. I would be dishonest also if I didn't tell you there are times that I look in the mirror and I feel like I don't see the same Craig that was here pre-diagnosis. I always tell my friends, I say, oh, I look like this old man now. I didn't look at this old. And then they may tell you, Craig, you look like an old man before you got diagnosed with cancer. But it does my soul good to say that, hey, I'm looking this old because of cancer. But no, just seriously, yeah, there are things, there are reminders in everything that I do that I've gone through treatment. And that's okay. That's okay because at the end of the day, Renee, I'm
You're
alive.
here.
I'm here. I don't care how old I look. I don't care. One thing I tell everybody, I used to have a head full of hair. Now I'm going bald. And if the camera is hitting me just right, you don't see the bald spot. But in case my friends and family want to talk about me going bald, I said, well, you shouldn't do that because there's radiation and chemo. So I would have had hair. Not true, but it keeps them from talking. And so
It's funny. That's funny. So, colon cancer lives in a place where most people are uncomfortable talking about. What would you say to somebody who's afraid to know or afraid to face it?
sure. The thing about colon cancer, especially culturally wise, and I talk to everybody, specifically Black men, I was amazed at how many of my friends and family members came to me and said, hey, I've never had a colonoscopy. How's that? Or what were your symptoms? And then you start talking about blood and stool. Most people, especially men, they do not like to talk about those things. So I always tell them it is a small price to pay for a 15 minutes max, 20 maybe, colonoscopy that is completely painless. You trade that off for your life because I'm sure there are many people who have lost their life to this disease, wish they had gone out and gotten a colonoscopy. There's a rise in colon cancer among young people between the ages, I think, 20 and 39. Those are some amazing statistics. And I didn't want this to be a conversation about just stats. Years ago, you had to wait till you was 50 years of age to get a colonoscopy. Now it starts at 45. If you're 45 years of age, get a colonoscopy. It's simple. Think about a parent who has a 20 or 25-year-old kid who's not at the age where they can get the testing and they're diagnosed with colon cancer. Be aware of the symptoms. Simply knowing the symptoms, Renee, and getting a colonoscopy saved my life. Point blank.
Wow. So we've heard this saying a lot. Silence costs lives. Would you agree?
So very true. And again, from a cultural standpoint, we cannot keep secrets. I was raised not to talk about certain things, especially when it came to health. Just a big secret. If someone has cancer, don't talk about it. The choice not to discuss it could be the reason why someone else end up losing their life because They're not aware of the symptoms. Early detection can be simply knowing your family history, having these conversations with your family, knowing the symptoms. All of those things are simple things that anybody can do. And what? It saves your life. So, absolutely, silence can truly be deadly when it comes to talking about early detection. Because the only thing early detection is about is knowing what the symptoms are, knowing your family history, knowing how it looks, and going to your doctor to say, I have these symptoms. Can you check me out? As simple as that.
Right. So at the end of every illness story, there's not an ending, but a beginning of you becoming. What are you most proud of about how you came through this journey?
My voice, my willingness to do this today, my willingness to share, because I knew the passion I had in the advocacy for my sister in dealing with pancreatic cancer. But it's totally different when it's your journey because it's releasing the privacy, telling your story with the knowledge that some are going to judge you, some are going to hear your story, some are not going to hear your story. But pretty much what I love to call is being naked, exposing yourself. So I'm most proud of my advocacy after that journey was over because the last treatment, I just wanted to forget about it all. I wanted to go home, resume my life, and never ever think about what I had just gone through. But I pushed through that and I made the decision to start talking about and sharing my story. So I'm most proud of the strength and the courage I have a voice and speak up and to share with others.
So I'm gonna put this in here. I don't know if this is going to be too much or not, but I know during your treatment, we video chatted every day. There was a group of us. We absolutely video chatted every single day. And I think the the thought was, you know what? He might have people around him, but we're gonna be on this phone. We're gonna be cracking up and making jokes and being silly and doing all the things that we normally would do and have serious conversations too. I just wanted to say that I'm proud that we were able to have those moments and just even if only for a while you were able to take your mind off of the crazy that was going on. So I just wanted to put that in there and say that. So thank you for allowing us to be there.
No, thank you all for standing here. You're right. We had many moments because I tried not to lose the crazy Craig. For my niece, I'm sure she would say the pain in the butt, Craig. But if that was going to be the end of my life, I didn't want the last memory all my friends and family had of me of doom and gloom.
Yeah.
Because cancer is a story of survival. Whether you beat it or whether you succumb to it, it is a story of survival. It's a story of courage. So I wanted my life to be looked at as someone who was courageous, who didn't allow fear to restrain his fight. So thank you all. Thank you all for keeping me uplifted during those times where I was in this reflective mode of wondering what the next moment would look like. You all would come through with a FaceTime call and got to see me looking all crazy, and we would have lots of fun. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm going to read this, and this is a little bit of a statistical thing in a nutshell. So since the mid 1990s, there has been a consistent annual increase of 2% um, in young adults 20 to 39 for colorectal cancer specifically. So what I would like to add is that you've got to understand your risk factors and you have to get screened. What would you say?
Perfectly said. And I would look to those of you who are watching this episode, if you are 45 years of age, if you have a history of colon cancer in your family, or if you have any of the symptoms, familiarize yourself with the symptoms. Do something as simple as just getting a colonoscopy. Talk with your doctor and go get a colonoscopy. It is the easiest 15 minutes probably of any procedure you probably ever had or will have. So know the symptoms and go and talk to your doctor and get checked out.
Perfectly said. So before we end, I know that this is something that you do on the Unspoken Matters podcast. So since I am sitting in the host seat today, I'm going to throw this question out at you. Finish this sentence. If only I knew.
You turning If Only I Knew back on me. So
I
yes,
am.
that's one of my favorite books by Lance Wubbles, and I would gladly finish the statement for you. So, Renee, if only I knew taking more risk in life would bring such joy, I would have taken even more risk at an earlier age.
Perfectly said. So thank you so much again for having me. It's been an absolute honor and a pleasure to sit here and talk to you about this subject that is raw and it's personal and it's sometimes difficult to talk about. But thank you so much for having me and I thank you so much for having the courage to actually bare yourself and be naked and speak about this the way you have. Thank you.
And thank you for taking the host seat. And now I can get my seat back, hopefully. And everybody, thank you for tuning in to this very important episode and listening to my journey. Remember, if you don't hear anything else that I said, go get yourself checked out. Know the symptoms. If you're 45 years of age, if you have a family history of colon cancer, get a colonoscopy. And until the next time, keep tuning in to Unspoken Matters, and we'll see you later.